great offense, timely hitting, good pitching, and really good defense. All right. All right.
You are Locked On Cubs, your daily Chicago Cubs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On Cubs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm Sam Olber, and I'm a lifelong fan, taking my passion into a discussion with you. It's been a while since I've done the double on all things Cubs. Thank you for being a part of the show and making Locked On Cubs your first listen today. And the best way you can help us grow the show is to listen every day, like the video, and comment anything below. And I know you're going to comment anything, literally. This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnMLB and use code all lowercase LockedOnMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Well, alrighty then. I have good news. I come bearing gifts, positivity. The Chicago Cubs dominated the Baltimore Orioles on Tuesday night with a 9-2 victory, and every part of the game was played well. As I said, offense, defense, pitching, little timely hitting even. It was a really good, maybe even at the top of the list of performances for the Cubs in the 2024 season, considering their opponent and who they had to play. Let's start out with just a little game summary for you. So the Cubs got off to a good start in this game. Michael Busch hit a home run. Seiya Suzuki had an RBI single. Nito had a sac fly. But I thought the moment of the game for me came, I want to say it was the fourth inning. Let me double check that just so I know I have it right. Yeah, it was the top of the fourth. Cubs had a 4-2 lead. Okay. And this is the situation. We saw it in San Francisco a couple of weeks ago. We've seen it time and time again. A chance to add on, a chance to put a team away. And they had second and third one out with Seiya Suzuki at the plate, and he struck out looking. And it felt like they were going to miss that opportunity. And Ian Happ came up, fell behind 0-2, worked it back to an even count, and hit a 3-run homer and broke the game open. And that was it. That was the swing. Because even though the Orioles didn't score the rest of the game, I'm telling you, if it was 4-2, it would have been a different story. Crowd more into it. Leverage, right? You give up one blue pitch single, tying runs on base. It would have been a different story. It's a lot easier to pitch, as we talk about it all the time on the show. Hear me. It's a lot easier to pitch with a big lead. It's a lot easier to hit with a big lead. When there's no pressure on you and the pressure's lower, it's easier. Just is. It's just a fact, right? No matter what the metrics tell you, it's just a fact. And, the Cubs really had some good individual performances tonight that need to be shouted out. Let's start with Ian Happ. I'm going to talk about him a little bit later on. Michael Busch with 4 hits, along with Ian Happ. Those guys have really carried the club here for a while. Jameson Taillon was just outstanding. Going to give him a little extended congratulations in a second as well. I thought Miles Mastrobuoni made another really big impact on this game, especially defensively. Got on base 4 times. We'll talk about Hunter Biggie in the last segment. He was good, and in his debut, Suzuki had an extra base hit in a single multi-hit game, and it was just a really good performance. But I want to talk about Happ and Busch for just a second, because those two guys right now are doing what we thought each guy would take turns doing this year. And I understand it's not selective. I'm not that naive. You can't pick and choose when you get hot. But we all knew that if this 2024 Cubs team was going to have success offensively, they were going to have to do it as a team. They were going to have to hand the baton off to guys. Hey, you know what? Dansby, you're going to get hot right now, and you're going to carry us because you're swinging a good bat. Okay, you know what? Now Bellinger's going to be the Bellinger July and August. That's huge. Okay, now it's Seiya's time. And Happ and Busch are basically taking their turns right now at carrying the baton and carrying this team. I think Ian Happ has about 41 RBIs in his last 38 games. So it's not just stats, it's full stats. He's getting big hits, and the eye test backs it up. He had a huge home run in San Francisco, a huge home run in Milwaukee, a huge home run at home against Philly, and then a really big home run today in Baltimore. And you just wish, and you can't help But think like if somebody else, just one person, just one of Morel, Dansby, Nico, Bellinger, Seiya got really hot in May and early June, what things could have looked like for this team because they were just missing somebody to help keep them afloat. And that's what great offenses do, team offenses. They have guys because the Cubs just don't have a guy like Aaron Judge. They don't have a guy that's just going to be, pretty much hot the whole season for the most part. And even Aaron Judge got off to a really, really slow start. But they had Juan Soto and other guys that were carrying the mantle until he got going. And you look at this offense now, you look at Bush, who's having a fine statistical season, better than fine. You look at Ian Happ now that's having, Ian Happ's putting together a very solid campaign, but you can't help but think that this offense was the worst offense in baseball in May and June. And it's just, it frustrates me, but you have to move on from it and just give these guys credit because they've been awesome lately. Ian Happ and Michael Bush. Also want to give credit and give some flowers to Jameson Taillon. I mean, last year he had such a rough season for most of it, but he was better in the second half. And I think most Cubs fans felt like he was going to be better this year, and he's been more than better. He is now, he improved to 6-4 with a 2.99 ERA. So that's Justin Steele, Jameson Taillon with ERAs under 3 at basically the All-Star break, and then Shota Imanaga, the Cubs All-Star representative, just over 3 on his ERA. And like we talked about yesterday, his ERA is inflated because it's really just a couple starts that just totally got away from him. So the Cubs have gotten really, really solid starting pitching. Again, me being me, it's a shame they couldn't do more with it, but those 3 guys deserve tons of credit. We'll see what happens with Taillon and the trade chatter because it's only going to increase with the way he's pitching. But he was really, really good tonight as well. And the last thing I want to say on this game, because I'm going to close with Hunter Biggie, is that, first of all, to Mark Leiter Jr., I want to note he made his first appearance back off the IL. He looked much sharper than he had. I just want to say this. I don't know how serious the Cubs still are about trying to get back in this race. I know you guys want me to do it, so I'll do it. I love Cub fans. The amount of texts and messages I got today. Sam, are you back in? Sam, there's a long way to go. God bless you guys, seriously, because I can't let myself go there because I'll get my heart broken again, and I'm kind of getting sick of that. Okay, I like where I'm at right now, just kind of enjoying day to day, just enjoying baseball, observing it from a media perspective and seeing, okay, what can I take away from this? Not getting too high, not getting too low. That's kind of what I'm trying to do right now. But, if you want a quick standings update, I'll do it because that's what I got to do. I got to give the people what they want. Cubs will be 10 out of the division after tonight. So I don't think that really matters much. But if the score holds in San Diego, they will be back within 4.5 of the wild card. So, oh no. Let's just win tomorrow. Let's see what happens tomorrow. I can't do it. But, what I was going to say was if the Cubs really do want to get back in this race, and I think they already regret it, that they didn't do it sooner. I think they need to give a long look to Mastrobuoni over at third base because it's simple. He is a huge upgrade defensively to Morel. And right now, there's no difference between their bats because Christopher Morel's lost at the plate. And I'm not sitting here. I don't want to bash on Christopher Morel because there's plenty of blame to go around for why the Cubs are 43 and 49. But his ineptitude on both sides of the ball this season, playing a really, really bad third base and hitting basically below 200. I think he got a single today, and that puts his average, I think, is it right at 199? So he's at 199. He really should be 198, 197 after today. He had a check swing, but he probably deserved a little luck. When you look at that's just the thing that sticks out to me about this team and this season, just like that was so surprising. They really took a big risk on Morel, and that part wasn't surprising offensively, more defensively. But this team with Mastrobuoni at third base and, probably even Madrigal if he were healthy, it just looks like such a better team on that side of the ball, more compact, more solid, more fundamentally sound. And I wonder, I'm interested with Burns on the mound tomorrow. And I know PCA's hurt right now, and he's day to day. I wonder even if PCA is healthy, if they just find a way to keep Mastro over at third base for a bit, just see, because it just looks better to me on defense. It just has a better feel to it. But Really good win for the Cubs on Tuesday night. All good things from this episode. They deserve the credit. They were really good. Cody Bellinger had a quiet night, but it was not a quiet day for the Cody Bellinger rumors, and we're going to talk about that coming up next. This episode is brought to you by Booking.com. Booking.yeah. With summer travel heating up, especially travel for baseball games, it's time to explore those U.S. cities you always secretly wanted to learn more about. Yes, we're talking about your rival cities. And let me tell you something, folks. Baltimore would be at the top of the list for me because that's a great ballpark. I've never been, and I'd love to use Booking.com to go watch the Cubs take a series in Baltimore. With hotels, bed and breakfast, vacation rentals, resorts, and so much more on Booking.com, you might just find your perfect stay, even in your baseball rival city. From hotels that look over stadium to family-friendly resorts, Booking.com has so many choices across the U.S. for your summer travel this MLB season. The right stay can make you a fan of any U.S. city, even your rivals. Book today on Booking.com on the site or in the Booking.com app. This episode is also brought to you by Game Time. Game Time is now an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets even faster and easier. I've been to 4 games this year. I've used Game Time for all 4 watching the Cubbies. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to first pitch. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. The experience of searching for and then buying tickets on Game Time is simple. Plus, Game Time is the only ticketing app that gives you complete peace of mind with your purchase. See the view from your seat before you buy so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKDOWNMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKDOWNMLB for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. The Cubs play the Orioles on Tuesday at 5:35 p.m. Central, and you can hear every pitch of the Cubs' hometown broadcast on SiriusXM by searching Cubs on the SXM app. Welcome back here to Locked On Cubs, and today there is some trade deadline chatter. And look, I want to preface this by saying I know you guys don't want to hear about the Cubs possibly selling after a nice win in Baltimore. I know that. But I have to talk about it, okay? And just because, look, the Cubs being in sell mode right now or on the border of that, we are allowed as fans to be absolutely frustrated and angry by that. But at the same time, you have to be realists. And what you don't want to do in any business is compound a bad situation and then take your frustration and make it worse. The Cubs are not at a point right now where they should be thinking about going to buy and trade and get better, with that. Now, there is a path that I'm sure Matt and I will dig into when he's back because it's complicated and it's not for this episode, where maybe the Cubs can get off some money and sell, but also not totally crush the 2024 team and maybe get some guys back that can play. With that being said, Cody Bellinger, his name came up. The Phillies, came out, and I read on Bleacher Nation, and we're going to have Michael Cerami from Bleacher Nation on tomorrow, which I can't wait about, that the Phillies are making, it a priority to go out and get, one of the center fielders. Luis Roberts' name popped up and Cody Bellinger's name popped up. And I think this is good news for the Cubs because I really think that Cody Bellinger's contract is really difficult to trade. He is somebody that is underperforming his contract a great deal. And if the Cubs could find a way to move off of that, first of all, I don't think it's going to really crush their team that much in 2024. I know Bellinger hits in the middle of the lineup and he's hitting a high, he has a high average that he's hitting, but if Happ and Bush continue to hit the way they're hitting and you get to see PCA every day, I don't know if it really stings that much, but it's really about next season and it's about financial flexibility because I do think that people are going to be very underwhelmed if and when they see the package back for somebody like Bellinger and even potentially a guy like Happ or Tyone. It's not the package is going to be underwhelming because of the contract. Trading these guys, you are going to get value by just getting them off your books if you can. The key thing to look for if you ever see Jeff Passan announce a Cubs trade is to wait for your reaction and see what they're doing with the money. Who's picking up the money? Okay, the Cubs are eating X amount of this salary, none of this salary, a lot of this salary. That's the key. And that's going to determine the return. So if the Cubs decide to trade Cody Bellinger, but they pick up the rest of this year's salary or something like that, then they'll probably get a little bit better of a return. The better the player will determine how much the Cubs want to eat financially. And, if you see oh my gosh, I can't believe that's all we got for Bellinger. But let's say the Phillies take on, 90% of his salary and pick up those player options and all that good stuff. That's going to help the Cubs, not right now, but in the offseason. So it's a really tricky thing. And I just wanted to speak on that because I already had people saying, I want them to get player X, Y, and Z. No, they're not going to get a top prospect for any of these guys. I think Tyone's probably the guy right now performing at his best at the right time, where the Cubs could probably see a pro by moving him and getting off that contract, and also maybe get something really good in return for him, because Nico's the easiest guy to trade contract wise, where if you traded Nico, you're going to get back a really good prospect because his deal's affordable, but he's just performing so poorly. Same with Morel. You just don't want to trade a guy when they're performing this poorly. You have to hope that they get better and go from there. But the point I'm trying to make with this whole situation is just that, Bellinger being in trade talks, I think, is a good sign for the Cubs, because I really thought interest would be low. And just because we're frustrated with the Cubs being in this situation, and we should be, doesn't mean that it's the wrong decision for the Cubs to explore those trades. Because if they could find a way to get off that Bellinger deal and have a team like the Phillies that's going to try and win the World Series overpay, you have to do it. You have to do it, because it's not about, Jed saving his job and fixing this. It's about the long-term health of the organization. And two things can be true. I always say that. It absolutely stinks that we're talking about trading a guy like Bellinger, but it doesn't mean it's the wrong situation given where we've gotten. But we still have some time. There's still plenty of baseball left, and we'll have to see what happens on that front. Maybe the Cubs can get really hot again and make this all kind of a moot point. But, the last thing I'll say about this is that people have asked me, well, are you sure you want Jed making the decisions right now? Because Jed, might make a rash decision since he's trying to save his job. I don't really think that's Jed Hoyer. Jed Hoyer's proven he's pretty good at this part of the job, too good at it. He's had too much practice at selling, but he's good at selling. And he's proven in the past he won't just sell to sell. Remember the deadline of 2022 with Happ and Contreras. Both those guys were really hot commodities at the deadline. Jed didn't like the deal, so he didn't do it. So I don't think Jed's going to just trade to trade. He's going to trade hopefully to help the long-term, health of the organization. And speaking of long-term health of the organization, if the Cubs are going to make a run in 2024, and if they're going to make a run in 2025, they are going to need somebody from their bullpen, some of their young arms to step up. And today, one of them debuted, and we're going to talk about him coming up next. This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is America's #1 fantasy sports app. It is the easiest and most exciting way to get in on the action while you watch your favorite sports and players. Pick more or less on 2 or more player stats and then watch the winnings roll in. For Wednesday night, I think I'm going to go more on Imanaga strikeouts, because the Orioles haven't seen him before. And I know Corbin Burns is on the mound, but I might have to ride the hot hand and go more on RBIs for Ian Happ, because he's been as hot as anybody in baseball in that regard. Don't miss your chance to add your favorite players from the diamond in your Prize Picks entries, whether it's strikeouts, RBIs, or first inning runs. Take your pick of more or less and add them to your Prize Picks entry. Prize Picks is really simple to play, with your entries taking less than 60 seconds to submit, turning $10 into $1,000 with just a few taps of your screen. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. That's a first deposit match up to $100 by using code LOCKEDONMLB. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy with Prize Picks, America's #1 fantasy sports app. We are back here on Locked On Cubs, and Hunter Biggie made his major league debut with the Cubs on Tuesday night, and he lived up to the hype. Throwing gas, 98, 99, 100. First career major league strikeout, 100. Guys, you've heard me say it how many times? These are the type of guys we need to start hitting on. Great organizations find a way to take guys and make them really good, whether it's from their own organization or castaways. Look at the back end of the Dodger bullpen. Evan Phillips was let go by the Rays. He's been the best reliever in baseball the last 2+ years. Daniel Hudson, given up on by a bunch of teams, tons of surgery, tons of tough moments. He's one of their best guys. You take guys, you take pieces, and you turn them into something. And, we watched it last year with Estrada. It didn't work out. Hasn't worked out with Palencia. We've seen signs. Ty talked about it yesterday with Luke Little, with Porter Hodge. And now you get another one in Hunter Biggie. And I got to admit it, one of the things I am most excited about for the rest of this 2024 campaign is to watch these guys sling it. Okay. I want to watch them in high leverage. I'd love to have a game where it's like 3-2 on the road, 7-8-9, Hodge, Little, Biggie, let's go. Whatever. It doesn't have to be in that order. But I want to see these guys get an opportunity, because the one thing we know for sure is that they're better options than what we currently have. We've watched Hector Neris a lot. We've watched Mark Leiter Jr. a lot. Tyson Miller's been really good, but we've watched Drew Smyly a lot. We've watched these guys. They haven't been very good for the most part. I want to watch these guys get an opportunity. I want to watch them throw fire, throw gas, have nasty stuff, so I could feel really good about what we're doing at that level and our whole pitching lab situation. So it was great to see him debut. Hopefully he gets a chance to pitch in a close ball game with a lead some point this week, because why not? Throw him in the fire. Amazing Tuesday night for the Cubs. Great win. Actually, just an overall really nice win for me, because one of the reasons I didn't go live today, I was watching the Argentina Copa America game with some of my friends, because I'm a diehard Messi fan. So that won. So a really nice Tuesday. Haven't had a lot of them, guys. Haven't had a lot of great summer nights, but tonight was a great summer night. Got a little luck from the soccer gods, and our beloved Cubbies came in and were really, really good. Wednesday night, Imanaga versus Corbin Burns. Really tough matchup for the Cubs, but man, if they could find a way to get ahead early, scrape a couple runs, maybe it takes the Orioles a while to adjust to Imanaga. They haven't seen him before, and we could have another fun podcast. Just to remind you, though, I will not be doing game coverage after Wednesday night's game, because I'm going to have Michael Cerami on from Bleacher Nation before. I'll probably upload that episode right around game time. So while you're watching the Cubs, you can go ahead and listen to Michael and I talk about Cubs, and then I'll get back to going live on Thursday after that game. Thank you so much for checking out this edition of Locked On Cubs. You give us 20 to 30 minutes, and we'll give you all things Cubs with a laugh or two along the way. Be sure to hit subscribe on YouTube, smash the like button for the algorithm, and leave a 5-star review on Apple, Spotify, and everywhere you get your podcasts. I'm Sam Olber, and this was a winning edition of Locked On Cubs.